Welcome, dear friends, to a story of love lost and found, where destiny takes an unexpected turn and second chances emerge from the mists of time. Enjoy the journey.
Sarah Baker squinted against the bright mountain sunlight, adjusting her designer sunglasses as she reclined on a plush lounge chair. The crisp mountain air filled her lungs, a refreshing change from the stuffy boardrooms she was so accustomed to. At 38, Sarah was a powerful force in the business world, but here, at this exclusive mountain resort, she felt strangely out of place. Her new husband, Jake, a dashingly handsome 29-year-old, had insisted on this vacation. "Come on, babe," he had pleaded, flashing that irresistible smile that had first caught her eye at a charity gala. "You need to unwind. 3 weeks, just you and me." She had scoffed at the idea. 3 weeks? The company would fall apart without me. Reluctantly, she compromised on a week. Now, as the warm sun kissed her skin, she found herself considering an extension, even if just for a few days. What could go wrong, she thought. Jake emerged from their luxury cabin, his lean, athletic frame glistening with sunscreen. "Hey, beautiful," he called, sauntering over to her. "How about we do something exciting today?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Exciting?" I thought the point was to relax. Jake sat beside her, his youthful energy a stark contrast to her composed demeanor. "Come on, Sarah. We're in one of the most beautiful mountain ranges in the country. We can't just sit around all day." "Watch me," she quipped, closing her eyes behind her sunglasses. But Jake was persistent. "I heard about this amazing hiking trail from the concierge. It leads to the most breathtaking view you've ever seen. Please, Sarah, for me." She sighed, recognizing the tone. It was the same one he used when he wanted something expensive or when he was convincing her to attend one of his friend's wild parties. "Fine," she conceded. "But just a short hike. I'm not dressed for mountain climbing." Jake's face lit up with excitement. "You won't regret it, I promise." He dashed back to their cabin to grab their gear, leaving Sarah to wonder, again, what she had gotten herself into with this marriage. As she watched him disappear, her thoughts wandered to another man from long ago. Pete. The name sent a shiver down her spine, despite the warmth of the sun. It had been 15 years, but the memories were still fresh. Shaking her head, she reminded herself that this was her honeymoon. No time for ghosts from the past. An hour later, Sarah found herself on a narrow mountain trail, her favorite sneakers now caked with dust. She had packed them as an act of rebellion against the closet full of designer heels Jake had bought her. They were practical, everything her life with Jake wasn't. "Keep up, slowpoke," Jake's voice echoed from further up the trail. Sarah huffed in response. "I'm not built for this, Jake. Some of us work for a living instead of spending all day at the gym." Jake laughed. "Come on, babe. Life is about adventure." Sarah rolled her eyes. She had had enough adventure in her youth. Now she craved stability and predictability. It was why she had married Jake. A trophy husband to complete her perfect life. As the trail became steeper, Sarah's breath came in short gasps. She leaned against a boulder, feeling her legs burn. "You okay, babe?" Jake called, bounding back down the trail. "Just catching my breath," she replied, wiping the sweat from her forehead. As she looked out at the wilderness, she couldn't deny the beauty of the towering pines and snow-capped peaks. It was a far cry from the concrete jungle of the city. But there was something more, something eerily familiar. Her mind drifted back 15 years, to another hike with another man. "Pete, wait up!" Her 23-year-old self had called, trying to match his long strides. Pete had turned, his rugged face breaking into a grin. "Come on, city girl. You're not going to let a little mountain beat you, are you?" Their laughter had echoed through the trees as they raced to the summit. At the top, Pete had pulled her into his arms, whispering, "I love you, Sarah." She blinked, snapping back to the present as Jake's concerned voice cut through her thoughts. "You okay?" You zoned out for a minute there. I'm fine, she lied, just remembering something. The rest of the hike was a blur of memories and fatigue. By the time they reached the summit, Sarah was exhausted, but the view was worth it. The valley below was a patchwork of green and gold, bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. Told you it was worth it, Jake gloated, pulling a bottle of champagne from his backpack. You carried that up here? Sarah asked, raising an eyebrow. Anything for my beautiful wife, Jake winked. Now let's celebrate. As he popped the champagne, Sarah wandered closer to the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping her hair. The scent of pine and wildflowers filled the air, and for a brief moment, she forgot her worries, until a memory surged back. 15 years ago, Pete had stood on the edge of a similar cliff, arms wide. Live a little, Sarah, he had shouted over the roar of the river below. Please, Pete, come back. But he had stood firm, telling her to trust him. Then, with a single misstep, he had wobbled, and Sarah had watched in horror as he disappeared over the edge. Sarah, what are you doing? Jake's voice startled her. She blinked, realizing she had wandered too close to the edge. I don't know, she stammered, stepping back. Let's head back down, Jake said, his voice shaky. It's getting dark. As they prepared to leave, something in Sarah's gut told her to stay alert. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. The descent down the mountain was filled with tension. Sarah's instincts were on high alert, and when Jake suggested stopping near the edge again, her unease only grew. Suddenly, she felt his hand on her back, and before she could react, Jake pushed her. She stumbled, fighting for balance, and time seemed to slow as her life flashed before her eyes. But instead of falling to her doom, she found herself enveloped in darkness, then waking up in a rustic cabin with Pete by her side. Pete explained everything: the fall, the amnesia, and how he had been watching over her ever since. Together, they devised a plan to expose Jake's betrayal and bring him to justice. With Pete's help, Sarah gathered the evidence they needed, and soon enough, Jake was caught and arrested for his crimes. As Sarah and Pete stood together, watching Jake being led away in handcuffs, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The past 15 years of heartache and betrayal faded away, leaving only hope for the future. Together, they walked hand in hand into their new life, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.